So here are our examples of and rubrics of our vocabulary collection activities. You will have this document printed in your notebook, and you will also have this document bookmarked on your computer so that you'll be able to refer back to it even if you don't have your notebook. There are 6 activities. We reserve the right to add more as we come up with some really cool ways for you to work with your vocabulary words, but 6 of them gives you plenty of choices throughout the year to get really good at some of these really creative ways of thinking. The first activity is called Mr. Stick. Now, Mr. Stick is obviously just a stick figure illustration. You will have to be sure his facial expression matches the tone. You can't just have a smiley face all the time. You need to have special facial expressions, and we'll help you come up with some really cool ways of that. We have a document just for facial expressions for Mr. Stick. You'll have the word, you can see up in the example. You have the word, the part of speech, and a paraphrased definition. You can copy it right out of the book, but a paraphrased definition might be more useful if you're looking at shortening the definition for space purposes. It also helps you really understand the word more deeply when you can put it into your own words. Underneath that, you see there are 2 forms of the word supercilious, an adverb and a noun. These are going to be listed right in the book. But what you'll find as you go throughout the year, these other parts of speech will develop a pattern, and you'll be able to recognize the adverb form of a word or the noun form of a word the more that you do this. Underneath that, you're going to draw your Mr. Stick cartoon. Mr. Stick has to be doing some sort of action. He's going to have a speech bubble, and then there's going to be a caption. And you're going to have to use the word either in the speech bubble or in the caption. To receive full credit, you're going to need to spell the word, all the words correctly, have correct punctuation, and correct capitalization. And this would be considered a 5-point activity. 1 for the word and definition, 1 for the extra form of the word. Then you have your cartoon. That would be a 3rd, your total cartoon. Your speech bubble and caption would be a 4th. And then, of course, 1 point for spelling and punctuation. Second choice is a haiku. Now, a haiku, you may have written these before, is a Japanese form of poetry, and it has specific numbers of syllables on each line, and they usually have to do with nature. So we're going to try to stick to that as much as possible. You're going to set your word up the same way with the word, part of speech, paraphrase definition, and any other forms of the word. Then you're going to do your vocabulary haiku. Now, we're going to do several of these in class. And by the time you've done 3 or 4, you'll get really, really good at these. And you'll be able to write up a haiku in no time about any topic once we get really, really good at them. And then you're going to add an illustration. You can draw it. You can print something off the internet, but it's just a small little illustration to go with your haiku. Our third choice is a synonym and antonym list. You're going to set it up exactly the same way: word, part of speech, paraphrase definition, and other forms of the word. And then you're going to use a thesaurus with either an online thesaurus or a book thesaurus and try to find 4 synonyms and 4 antonyms. Not all words work for a synonym and antonym list, and I'll be available to help you choose these at first, and you'll start figuring out which types of words are better for synonym and antonym lists. It seems pretty easy. You just look up the words and write them down, but it really is a powerful way to help learn a word. If you learn other words that mean the same thing or words that mean the opposite of that, you can apply those in different situations, and it will help you be able to use the word in the real world. The personified vocabulary activity. Now, this one's my favorite. for students to do because it's super creative and it really makes you have to think about the word in a more abstract way. You're going to set your word up the same way with your word, part of speech, paraphrase definition. Then you're going to try to imagine if the word were a person. So in this case, our word is innovative. So we have to think about if our word was a person, then what would an innovative person be like? Well, they would invent things. And so you're going to write 3 sentences about Mr. Innovative, and you're going to talk about their mannerisms. What kind of jobs would they have? What kind of clothes would they wear? What personality characteristics would they have? And you'll come up with a creative name and 3 creative sentences and a tiny little illustration to go with it. This example here, Mr. Innovative, that worked really well with his initials. Not all words work that way. Let's say we were going to do a word like victorious. You might want to make the personified vocabulary words name Vicky Victorious. Anything that uses the word or a form of the word in a creative way for the name. These get really, really funny the longer throughout the year and the better people get at doing these. Showing sentence. Showing sentence seems really traditional, like something you've always done. You've written sentences with your words your whole school year, all the way through elementary school. But this is a little bit different, adds a little bit more structure, where you can't just say what the word means. You have to actually show me what the word means in your sentence. So our word here is tumult, and tumult means a loud and confused noise from a mass of people. So look at our showing sentence. The tumult began with that single grape that soared through the air and plunked in my enemy's soup. Now we could just imagine the loud and confused noise and coming out of a large mass of people in a cafeteria or a restaurant when that happened. Notice the underlined words. Those are all action verbs. So a showing sentence must use the word, show a scene or some sort of action by using 3 action verbs in order to show what the word means. And you can refer back through the rubric if you need to, but these examples are really kind of a little more helpful because you can actually see how to do it. Again, spelling and punctuation must be perfect to receive full credit. And our Frayer model, I know this looks different. It's laid out a little differently, but we've added this kind of late throughout the year because the kids enjoy doing it so much. A Frayer model is named after this person, Frayer, who developed this graphic organizer. It's a little like synonym and anonym lists. It's a little bit like personified vocabulary, where you write your word and definition, part of speech, some characteristics, some things that might describe the word, some examples, some places where you might see the word used, some synonyms, some antonyms, some places where you wouldn't see the word used. For instance, if it was the word tumult, as in the previous example, some characteristics would be loud, confused, noisy. An example might be a football game or a large city. A non-example might be an antonym like quiet, or a place where you wouldn't find a tumult like a library. So our Frayer model is your last choice, and we'll go all the way back up to our first choice. So you can bookmark the document, bookmark this video so that you can refer back to it and kind of fast forward through to the one that you are trying to complete and help you remember, listen to my explanation again. I hope it's helpful.